in the lower right-hand corner, at least of my screen. We're here for the Four Quarters podcast here on the Chairshot Radio Network, part of the Chairshot.com, where we remind you to always use your head.
TheChairShot.com. Always use your head.
And yes, Dave is not here this week. I actually don't know why Dave's not here this week. I have forgotten. I didn't, and I frankly, like, I forgot to ask.
I don't know. He told me that too. We were supposed to do a different show, and I had plans, so I don't know.
That's fair.
Dave's not here, man. Sorry, I had to.
Dave is not here, but thank you everyone who is here right now with us. If you are listening, streaming live, we love having you here to talk a little sports as part of the sports part of sports entertainment and sports entertainment. We are going to talk about the two major playoff races that are going on right now. We have most a fun NHL playoffs going on as we speak. The NBA playoffs full swing, and both of these playoffs, Tony, have made me extraordinarily happy. And you know why?
Tell me why.
It's because as of today, as we were recording here at 1:15 on May 3rd, this actually happened earlier. The city of Boston is not involved in any playoff sport, which means that I don't have to listen to a bunch of chowderhead Bostonians talk to me about how the Bruins are the greatest play hockey team of all time. I don't have to listen to the Celtics. What I get to listen to now, honestly, is I get to listen to bitching and moaning. They're gonna say that Jason Tatum is a pussy, and that'll be how they say it. Pardon for the free language, kids. And then they're going to say that they suck because they couldn't make a 3-point basket to save their life, which was true. And then on the Bruins side, they just weren't tough enough. They didn't have that. They didn't have that working class blue collar game going, and they just weren't good enough. They're a bunch of bums, just a bunch of bums. And to that I say, good. I don't need to listen to you. And you know what's even better? The Red Sox are like 8 million games under 500 and fired their entire coaching staff. Like all of Boston right now, making my day because I don't have to listen to them be happy because they're the worst fans.
I can understand your pleasure being a Central Illinois transplanted to Massachusetts and having to live in it. It's funny. I seen you guys talk about the firing of Joey Cora and Alex Cora, my bad. And a funny Tim Murray, our sports guy for our local radio, Bob and Brian. He's out in Vegas. He does a lot of stuff on VSiN as well, so check him out. He's really a good follow. He's a really knowledgeable sports person to follow as well. He said that firing Alex Cora was like shitting your pants and then changing your shirt.
Right. That quote, I shared that quote too.
Or was that somebody else said that? Maybe he took that from somebody else.
Josh Beckett is the one who that has been attributed to now. Is that I read the tweet on the show last week.
Okay, you did. All right.
Heard
so
from
I just
a
heard
former player.
Murray, yeah.
But it caught like wildfire because that franchise is a dumpster fire right now.
Yeah,
and
tough.
It just should be. Baseball is fascinating to me. Like as I go off topic already, as a Cardinal fan, and a team that's supposed to be rebuilding and is inexplicably on a 5-game winning streak, or 6-game winning streak now after they swept the Pirates in a 4-game series and have taken 2 of the first 3 in a series with the Dodgers. I know the Dodgers aren't playing very well. In a National League Central, where as of a couple of days ago, and I don't know if it's changed yet, there wasn't a team under 500. Every team was at least 500, if not above.
Yeah, now, every team is at least 2 games over 500 right now. The Pirates are 18-16, the Brewers are 18-14, the Reds are 20-13, the Cardinals are 20-13, the Cubs are 21-12. So you don't really want to see any NL Central team on your schedule.
Well, and it's gonna change
NL Central team
because right now, so after the Cardinals finish with this series with LA, and I'm just happy they're going to take 2 or 3 against the Dodgers. Like anytime you can do that, you take that 100%. Your Brewers and my Cardinals in a first in their first matchup of the season. I think that series is the next one. Yet. Right, and it's just I think the Cardinals will regress to the mean eventually. Their bullpen is atrocious. Like they're just their arms are in the farm system right now. They're not up in the majors, and the arms that are working, Jojo Romero, O'Brien, the closer, like they're logging too many innings, and it's just like even with them logging innings, their bullpen ERA is over 5. Like any lead is not safe for the Cardinals once they have it. Like they just don't have that yet. Their offense though, they can score, and that's how they've largely built the record they have, is they score a lot of runs. How are you feeling about your Brewers? I know you were really bullish on them. It's still too early. It's May, so it's tough to. They went on a run. I want to say late May and June last year.
Yeah, so they went on a couple of runs actually. They won 9 or 10, and then they won 13 or something. Just because I know that if they win 13, there's a place around here that gives away free hamburgers, and everybody goes crazy for
That's very nice.
Not so great ham. It's fine. But they've been had a lot of injuries, especially. Food is free food, right? Yeah, my 2 favorite words, free and beer. Put them together. Add in cold. They've had a lot of injuries to the pitching staff. Look at Woodruff had to come out in the second inning just this past weekend. So we'll see. I mean, Churio's been out. They've had a couple other sticks that are out of the lineup, but at the same time, I think they're still 3 games over, so they're right there. There's a lot of good teams in the NL Central this year. We can definitely say that.
Yeah, and it'll be fun to really dive into MLB as we get a little bit further into the summer. June is really when you start to see the wheat and the chaff start to separate and all of that.
Right after the hockey and NBA playoffs.
Right, which we're going to talk about the NHL first because that's that's my wheelhouse, and then I'll acquiesce to you for the NBA because I know next to nothing about what's going on. I finally watched 15 minutes of an NBA playoff game yesterday because I did watch Boston lose. But
right on per your character,
right, very much so. I wanted to take it all in, but so it's been really interesting outside of the Carolina Ottawa first round game in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It was great series all the way around. Colorado also, they swept the Kings. That was not going to be a matchup. But the Dallas Minnesota series, the Vegas Utah series, which I say this every time a new franchise comes about, and you see this. There's something very interesting about the way expansion drafting works in the NHL and the type of talent that teams have to give up in those expansion drafts that allows for a team like Utah, who is brand new to the league, come in and make a playoff first season out the gate. And they did. Vegas, 4-2 takes that series. A lot of the round 2 games are starting this week, but we have one Game 7 tonight. That is Tampa Bay and Montreal for the right to go and play Buffalo. Buffalo is kind of the feel-good story of the NHL playoffs just because it's been so long since they made a playoff, and then to win their first series since I think 2015, kind of huge deal. Every single game between Montreal and Tampa Bay has been decided by a goal. It's been a terrific series. This is always my thing. So I'm going to own it. And I know you're a Tampa Bay guy, so I'm going to say this. I always just want there to be one Canadian team. And this is the last Canadian hope this season. And so I know that you
I hope your dreams are not today.
are not pulling for Montreal today. But I am. That game is at 6:00 this evening. If you're listening live, Eastern time.
It's on TNT and True TV, by the way, if you're looking for it.
Yep, and HBO Max. If you have HBO Max, you can watch it that way as well. I love using the streaming services for some reason, even though it's the exact same broadcast. I don't know why, but I just enjoy it thoroughly.
I found that if a show is streaming the next day and it's something I DVR, I'd rather watch it on the streaming because then I don't even have to fast forward through the commercials. They just cut right through them.
Right. So yeah, I'm very, very excited for this game. It's the only game tonight. It'll be no, there's a second round game. There's a second round game playing at 9:00. You're right. Is it the Vegas series?
No, it's Minnesota at Colorado.
Oh, well, and Colorado
should be in the conference finals.
Colorado should be in the conference finals. Carolina, I knew Carolina was good, but like they haven't lost yet. Obviously, because they swept their first one, and Philadelphia, who played this really tough physical series against Pittsburgh, they weren't competitive. Like it just looked like, whether it's fatigue from the prior series, Carolina had been rested. They'd played for 7 games or hadn't played in 7 games. I don't know what it was, but they handled business. It was 2-0 for most of that game, 3-0 by the time we went to final. And it wasn't particularly dramatic. Like they handled it. So I expect Colorado to do that. They've been doing that all season. Minnesota's been a fun story, but I just don't see it. But Tampa Bay and Montreal, that's the game for me tonight. I also just love the NBA or the NHL playoffs in that they just they move on as soon as the series is done. Like, as soon as the two teams that are supposed to play each other match up, we are going. There's no waiting, and that's what we've got here.
No, I'll be interested to watch the game today. Hopefully, the Lightning can take care of business after their overtime win in Montreal, 1-0 game there. So it's just edge of your seat kind of viewing as a sports fan. It's
yep.
The playoffs are no more intensified in any other sport than they are in the NHL, right? Like
Absolutely.
The only other thing that really comes close is like baseball, just because it's an untimed game if you have some type of comeback or something like that. But mainly these NBA and NFL playoff games, you're under this stringent time, and it just seems a lot more like the regular season, except in the NBA we'll get to where they finally play defense at this point.
Yeah, it's interesting when you just watch. When you watch the scores go down, you see though. Okay, we'll jump right over to while we're on it, because there are 2 Game 7s tonight. There is the Pistons and the Magic, which Pistons are number 1 seed, and the Magic have given them all that they can handle. I have a buddy who is a Detroit Pistons fan, and he is fun to follow on. So he's like me on social media when talking about his teams. Like, and Tony, if you were to describe how I talk about my teams that I cheer for, and how I fan, if you will, how would you describe it?
Well, first I want to shout out to your buddy, Detroit basketball, for all you ball knowers, and I would describe you as, take a look at where I'm taking this. I would describe you as a glass half empty kind of guy.
Very much. I am always pessimistic about my teams. I think the only time where I was ever the other way around was those Cardinal teams in the, that 2000, 15 or
the St. Louis Cardinals franchise really reminds me a lot of the Green Bay Packers franchise, right? You have very knowledgeable, proud fans and a franchise that is largely in part a competitor for a championship 70 to 80% of the seasons they play.
Right. And so it's always a different mentality. And being a Bulls fan, being a Bears fan, like
Bears fan's tough. Bulls fan was you just
we had that
in the 90s.
We had that run in the 90s, where everybody was in love with Michael Jordan, and I was too. As a Blues fan, we peaked in 2019 when we finally won a cup, and that was the last major sports team that in my lifetime that I cheered for, that I had, like a professional sports team that I had yet to see win a championship. And I mean, that would hit me more emotionally than any other championship.
Chris Pronger, my favorite NHL player ever.
God, he was so physical. But anyway, look, I want to start with, I'm watching this Celtics 76ers game last night or yesterday afternoon. And Dave is watching this game too, because he was around Saturday. And he's texting me, was it Friday or was it? It had to be Friday. Game was Friday.
The game was last night.
The Celtics 76ers game was last night?
Yep.
Oh, then it was after I got back from Six Flags. But he's texting me about this game. And he's like, the 76ers are, they were up like 18. They were really up. Boston makes a run. And with about 5 minutes to go in the game, Boston had several opportunities to take the lead on that game. They had gotten stop after stop. And the 3-point problem that they had where they were like 13 of 30 something, like it was brutal, was problem number one. Problem number two, they couldn't run a fast break. And that was what I knew they were going to lose. Is there was a sequence with about 3.5 minutes to go. Game, they're still down 1. They get a stop. They have a break. And there is a man, and I don't know who it was, running free down the middle of the lane. It is a relatively easy pass for a dunk. Just get the dunk, have the crowd at TD Garden go crazy, and call it. And they went for a corner 3 baskets they haven't been making all game. And I think that it was either a bad off the rim or an error, but it was not even close. 76ers get the rebound, go down the other way. They extend their lead. And after that, Boston, I don't think Boston made a shot for like another 3 minutes. By the time they made a basket, the 76ers were up 7 with like a minute and a half to go. And it really felt done. And they got it done. And Philadelphia wins a series after being down 3-1 for the first time in their franchise's history because Boston couldn't make a shot and made poor decisions. Tatum or no Tatum, there was some bad ball to wrap that game up.
This Philadelphia team, if you can have Paul George, Joel Embiid, VJ Edgecombe, and Tyrese Maxey on the floor and healthy, they're a contender. Like
that's a big question, though.
That's been the plan, unable to be executed the entire time, right? Even all the way back to the Ben Simmons days. Like think about that headache of a guy with all that talent who just really doesn't like basketball. Is something I've been saying for years.
Right.
Ben Simmons doesn't like basketball.
In Embiid, is there any word coming out of that game? Because he was hurting pretty bad. And he was noticeably.
He's always hurting though.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
This is something I don't want. Yeah.
No, I haven't. I'm looking at. I'm not seeing an injury designation on him right now. So
well, that's a good sign.
As I'm looking at the rosters.
So let's stay in the Eastern Conference though, real quick. We've got 2 Game 7s. The first one, this afternoon at 3:30 in the afternoon, we got the Magic and the Pistons. The Pistons, the number 1 seed in the East, being given all that they can handle. They are an 8.5-point favorite, but that doesn't mean anything, I would say, with the way the series has gone. So thoughts on Detroit and Orlando and what the Magic need to do to win this game?
It's funny, Dave and I did this show a couple weeks ago, I think, and talked about how it was kind of a shitty matchup for Detroit, considering Orlando had a lot of injuries to their key players. Wagner, Banchero, I think one of their guards was out for a period of time, and now they're healthy. And now you can see that they're actually like a top 4 or 5 team in the East that can run with the top teams in the East, i.e. Detroit, who I think should win this game at home, but it's really hard to tell here. I wouldn't be surprised either way in this particular Game 7 today.
Yeah, I hate Detroit. This is well, and here's why. This dates back to, this is again as a child of the 80s. Fuck Bill Laimbeer.
See, like as a Bucks fan, we were like, I was a little bit younger in the 80s than you were, so not necessarily.
And Isaiah Thomas was a dick.
And the Bucks were pretty good until until 89, and then they were really bad until we had our big 3, right? And so I never really hated anybody in our division. I just hated Philadelphia because we lost to them in the conference finals. I was a Jordan.
That's fair.
Growing up in Milwaukee, I love Michael Jordan. Everything Michael Jordan.
I love, absolutely. I love Michael Jordan. Detroit, I just hated everybody on the Detroit Pistons. And it was funny because when we got Dennis Rodman, Like, and then I had to like pretend to like Dennis Rodman because he was on the Bulls. And I was like,
Well,
but
see, my dad was a Larry Bird guy, so I didn't mind Detroit because he would always dog Jordan, and Jordan wasn't doing it yet, and finally Detroit beat Bird, so I was happy with that.
I love Larry Bird. He's
Now I do, yeah.
yeah, it's terrific. Okay, so let's go to the series where I forgot these two cities still had teams, and that being the Toronto Raptors and the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Well, just because kidding. LeBron's not there anymore, you don't remember?
Well, the city disappeared after LeBron left.
Understood.
And so I literally don't even know who's on these teams.
Well, I mean, James Harden, Donovan Mitchell.
James Harden still plays basketball?
He's on the Cavs. He got traded there this year.
Now does he try?
He does for this team.
Okay, because I mean sometimes he doesn't try.
Well, see, Game 6 was probably should have been won by the Cavs, but if not for a gigantic RJ Barrett last second shot. Scotty Barnes, Jacob Poeltl is on this team amongst others. It's a hardworking, well-coached Toronto team, but I think Cleveland with their star power at home should win this game. I would be surprised. Like I was saying with the other one, I wouldn't be surprised either way. This one, I'd be surprised if Cleveland didn't dig in with more playoff experience, the home court here.
Cool. I'll take your word for it. I want to talk about one. No, I do want to talk about one other series over in the West, and for purely selfish reasons. How are the Minnesota Timberwolves winning basketball games with as many people as they have hurt right now? And as a University of Illinois fan, not gonna lie, the fact that Terrence Shannon Jr. and Ayo Dosunmu have both come up big for them has been nice to see and selfish, but by all accounts, I'm assuming the Magic ends against the Spurs. Like I can't imagine they have enough to get past them, and yet I didn't think they would get past Jokic and the Nuggets. So I guess what do I know? But they don't. Like everybody's hurt. Like all their guards are hurt.
Dosunmu, Anthony Edwards is out. There's somebody else that is
that guy whose name is really hard to pronounce. Is like like DiVincenzo or
Dante DiVincenzo. Yeah, White Dante. Yeah. He was a buck once upon. Yeah, that's they call him White Dante. Yeah, it's interesting because Denver, Jokic and Murray and everybody was there playing, and they just couldn't get it done. They don't even get to a game 7. But I don't know. I don't really see. I don't see it not being the Spurs and the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. And since Boston's out, the winner of that is probably going to be your NBA champion this year.
Right. Because I said the only thing I really knew about the East when we first talked about the playoffs is that I was like, it felt like unless like it was Boston's to lose until it wasn't. And that's kind of what happened there. I'm ready for the Lakers. I've heard nothing but good things about the Thunder. Obviously they swept the Suns. The rejuvenation of LeBron James and the way he's leading the Lakers, good for him. I do think that he gets a little unfairly maligned at times for being who he is because of the expectations of people and the inevitable arguments over who's the greatest of all time. And it's just such a silly argument. It is Jordan, but it's still a silly argument, a conversation to have. Eras of basketball. The reason I always argue that Jordan is the better player is because I think Jordan could win in this era of basketball, in this style of play of basketball, in this land of matchup hunting and all that. Like Jordan would still be able to do that. Like he was that good. And I don't know.
He averaged 50 points a game.
Right. It'd be insane.
You can't touch anybody anymore. Yes.
Right. Like
pick your most impressively athletic, talented person in the NBA right now. They're not even close to Michael Jordan.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's hard to he's one of those players, and it reminds me, I always talk about this in baseball all the time when the arguments about baseball players come all the time. I try to think of players from the past who could play today. Like Willie Mays could play today. Like if he were a Major League Baseball player, I think he would have been good enough to play today. And stuff like that. And I think Michael Jordan's one of those people. He's transcendent.
Ted Williams was like 60 years old, and someone asked him what he would hit in today's game, and he's like 290, He's like, really, only 290? And he goes, well, yeah, I'm 60 years old.
It's very true. And hey, Satchel Paige pitched in a Major League Baseball game when he was 60, and struck out a side. So all because he needed to get his insurance. All right. We're going to take our first commercial break. We're going to talk back. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about a few things that happened around the sports world. Big shakeup over in the college ranks for basketball, as well as a little Kentucky Derby talk. So stick around for that. You are listening to the Four Corners Podcast here on the Chairshot Radio Network, part of thechairshot.com.
Why should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Four Corners Podcast here on the Chairshot Radio Network, part of thechairshot.com, where we remind you to always use your head. Make sure you're heading over to ProWrestlingTees.com/thechairshot for all of your Chairshot swag needs. We got a lot of great quality stuff there. Thank you, everyone, for listening live. If you are, if you're not, welcome to the podcast here on Tuesday. All right. So this has been a story that has been percolating for a while in the NCAA tournament ranks, but it has been made officially official. The NCAA tournament is expanding. It's going to go from 68 teams to 76. I do believe, because they're expanding by 12 teams. Basically, from 11 seed down, you're playing a game to get into the tournament. And I have been on record.
Uh-oh.
Horrible. Oh, I lost my visual effects. Horrible for the tournament itself. I understand a couple of reasons why they do it, but I don't think that people really understand how much it is not as much about money and as it is about placating major conferences. I think that this is much more about the SEC pitching a fit over a mediocre Auburn team, because the play-in games actually don't bring in the revenue that people assume they do. Like, people watch them, yes, but it's been shown in financial reports that they're not the boom to money, boom of money that you would think the first 2 days of the tournament are, and the viewership that they gather and that revenue. So it's, to me, I feel like it's rewarding mediocrity. I don't need to see an Indiana team that was 8-8 in the Big Ten making the NCAA tournament. If you can convince me this was going to work and help high-performing mid-major teams like your Miami of Ohio's of the world get into the tournament, I'd be a little bit more for it. But I don't think that's the way it's going to go. I think the committee is going to reward teams that shouldn't be in there. I think they're going to reward an Auburn team that was 16-15 on the season. Now, that Auburn team did win the NIT, but look at who they were playing. Yeah, exactly. Whoopity-doo. So I think this is dumb. I hate it. And Tunney, I'll just turn it over to you. Like, what does this actually achieve?
I don't like the guy starting on second base in extra innings in baseball.
Same.
I don't like the 17th regular season NFL game.
That one doesn't bother me as
much. So basically, you're going to have 12 games to pare down to 64 because they're going to have 76 teams, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to have 12 games. So you're determining 12 teams in the field, which across 4 brackets would be 3 seeds in each bracket. Okay? So right now there's like 1 for each bracket, but here there's going to be 3 for each quarter bracket to get into. I think they should all be. Now, I understand the argument for having the play-in game be with the lower seeds so that they can say they actually maybe can have a chance to win a game, since usually a 14, 13 through 16 doesn't. But I think all 12 of these matchups should be the 24 worst at-large bids, fighting it out for, let's say, the 11, 12, and 13 seeds in each bracket.
I agree with that. And I think the other thing that's really frustrating for a lot of fans, at least for me, is what they've already said that they're going to do is 16, every 16 seed is going to go through the play-in game process. And
that one I get.
That one I get
because they have a chance to win a game. Then at least I get that.
Well,
but you would rather have a chance to play You'd rather have a chance to play a game against the 1 seed, though, right? Like I know I have a chance to beat them.
Right, and I feel like it shits on an accomplishment that is the only way that they get into a tournament in the first place. Like the only way that those 16 teams get into this tournament at all is because of the automatic bid that they get for winning their conference tournament.
Then change college football and basketball and make them like the Premier League. Not exactly, but like it. There's a certain number of teams in this top tier of what we do. And you know what? You can get relegated out of it, and you can also win your way into it. And that's the kind of level of what's going on in college athletics in these main 2 sports, is because it's become professional. It's become how much money and how much exposure and how cool is it to come play for your franchise now. It's not a franchise, though. It's a university. Son of a bitch.
And these teams that get in, these 16 seeds, I can't remember what the stat is, but it's like, it's always been the odds have always been long, but I think it's something like the last 3 years there hasn't been a team higher than a 13 seed get out of the first round because of the disparity of talent. You look at what Michigan is doing. Like, so Michigan just won their national title. Yaxel is moving on to the NBA. Merez Johnson moving on to the NBA. They were able to use their money to retain their core with Elliot Cadeau. They got this freshman. I can't remember the kid's name off the top of my head. He was coming off their bench. He's going to be their, in their starting lineup. They, Adai Mara is moving on, obviously, but they went out and they literally just picked up the next best 7-footer, quote unquote, free agent that they could. They just picked up the next best, shooting forward, small forward, that 6'8", 6'9" guy that can post you up, but also take you off the dribble. Like, they just reloaded because they have the money to do so. Illinois is the same way. Illinois spent all their money retaining their roster. They picked up Stefan Vox, who is like the number 3 shooting guard, basically to take over the Keaton Wagler spot because he's going off to the draft. And the rest of the team is essentially the same with freshmen. And they brought in some freshmen. So it is a haves not sort of scenario. And I agree with you. I would much prefer if the tournament is just going to be these Power 2, if we're really talking about it, like Power 4, if you really want to get to it, then have that tournament and have those mid-majors in a different tournament altogether, because it's a waste of their time other than that television exposure they get on CBS at 11 o'clock in the morning on day 1 tip-off. Like, it sucks. Like, it just sucks. But I don't know that you'll convince those mid-majors that it's worth it. And the NCAA certainly doesn't want to give it up because it is their number 1 revenue generator.
They want to watch this. They want to showcase their thoroughbreds, Patrick.
Right, which is a nice transition into our last topic, which was, okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the Kentucky Derby, not because we are big horse racing people, though I did see that Mr. Tunney made a prediction on his X for a winner. It was not right, but again, the horse that won, Golden Tempo, was a 23-1 odd.
Did you watch the race?
Horse. I did not. I missed it. I was with my child. We were at an amusement park where I was busy feeling sick and old.
That's right.
As I no longer can handle roller coasters.
I watched the race. My pick,
but that horse came from like the outside.
Well, that's what I was gonna. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, my pick didn't do. I don't know where Commandment finished. My dark horse pick, though, speed control or something like that, was leading like the first 2/3 of the race, out in front the whole time. And then Golden Tempo, I've watched back the replay of this race from the top view. Yeah, literally last place, and you can just see the race in increments, passing the number of horses, and then finally at the end on the outside, chasing down the leaders, taking the lead and winning. And if I remember correctly, watching it live, the second place jockey was so thrilled for the winner, the winning jockey, and immediately congratulated them like right after the finish line. But what a great race, an all-time great Kentucky Derby race.
And it just felt like it was important to note this particular Kentucky Derby because in the 152 years of the Kentucky Derby, there has never been a horse that has won that was trained by a woman, and that ended with I'm gonna hope it's Sherry DeVoe, is how you pronounce her last name. She's not the first female trainer to win a Triple Crown race. That goes to Jenna Antonucci, who had a horse win the 2023 Belmont Stakes. But the jockey you mentioned, Jose Ortiz, it was his first win ever, his 11th try, and big deal for people like myself who work for the University of Massachusetts because he was a University of Massachusetts graduate. And so that was, the school was very excited, obviously, about that when that news broke. It was all over their socials. But I remember very much, and this will kind of be where we leave today's show. I just remember very much my parents, like we never gave a shit about horse racing or anything like that. And it's one of those sports but there was at least one time a year where I knew I was going to be watching a horse race, and that was a Kentucky Derby. Now, if we might also watch the Preakness, because there is back then, because was it Secretariat was the last one, or what? Not Secretariat. I can't remember
not
what
the
it was.
Last one. But
there was a big gap between the last Triple Crown winner and the most recent winner of it. And now it's a question as to whether we'll ever see that again, though there is some talk of changing the Triple Crown race schedule to put more time between the Derby and the Preakness and the Belmont so that horses can recover, because a lot of it is about recovery time for horses and trainers not wanting their horses to become injured. So we'll have to see. But anyway, hats off to Jose, hats off to Sherry for that win and Golden Ticket.
So after aforementioned Secretariat, Seattle slew in 77 and affirmed in 78, back-to-back years with Triple Crown winners. And then it wasn't until 2015 American Pharoah, and the last one to do it was Justify in 2018. And the last note I wanted to say is 53 years after Secretariat winning the Triple Crown. Talk about a family tree. 19 of the 20 horses that ran Saturday in the Kentucky Derby were descendants of Secretariat.
Yeah, that horse was special, and clearly is still.
He had a 20-pound heart. That horse had a 20-pound heart. I don't know how big horse hearts are supposed to be, but that seems.
But that's a big heart. So, all right. Well, on that note, that sounds like a good place to end this week's edition of the Four Quarters Podcast. Before we get out of here, Tony, tell everybody where they can find you on the network and on the socials, if you so choose. Oh, he's pointing at it right there.
Follow me at PC Tony. Thanks for listening to Chairshot Radio Network. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Follow everything at Chairshot Media.
Right, and you can follow me at Wrestling Realist on the socials at WRESTL NGREALIST. Catch you every Monday, Tuesday, and most Wednesdays on the Chairshot Radio Network. Mondays, talking nerdy stuff with PC Tony, David Ungar, and Ray Cash. Tuesdays, talking sports, usually with David Ungar. This week, thank you very much for filling in, Mr. Tunney. Appreciate your time and insight, because the NBA section would have been really bad without you. And Wednesdays, talking wrestling with Craig DeMarco when he feels like talking to me. So that's going to do it. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will catch you next week. This has been the Four Corners Podcast here on the Chairshot Radio Network, part of the Chairshot.com.
Why should you visit the Chairshot.com?
The Chairshot.com.
Hey.
Always use your head.